Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Pod Save Chocolate. My name is Clay Gordon. I am your host, and today we're going to be talking a little bit more about transparency reporting. But this episode, we're going to be discussing transparency reporting in chocolate awards and why it's important. Before we get there, I'd like to point out that no matter where you might be listening to today's or watching today's episodes from, you can go into the live chat in YouTube or the comments in LinkedIn or Facebook, and you can ask a question or leave a comment. I will get the question and comment up on screen, and I will respond, and I'll try to answer your question if I can. But at any point during the episode, just chime in, and I will work to respond. May not get to it right away, but I will get to it. If you're watching this afterwards, you can go into the comments on the platform where you're watching this, or if you're a member of the Chocolate Life, you can go to this post on the Chocolate Life. And speaking of which, let's go take a look at that. This is the homepage of the Chocolate Life right now, and this is the link. This is the link to the last post I was talking about, transparent trade meets cacao with an identity. And I was looking at transparency reporting that's being done by cocoa suppliers. And in this particular, I was talking about two companies, Uncommon Cacao as well as Silva Cacao. And the reason for talking about them was they had recently announced a partnership. And I was looking at how they report about their supply chains the same and differently, and wondered about how the reporting might change. Is Uncommon going to stop reporting the way they're reporting and report more like Silva Cacao, or is Silva Cacao going to increase the amount of reporting that they do and become more like Uncommon over the course of as the partnership develops? But if you're all interested, you can go to the post on the Chocolate Life and you can watch the YouTube live stream. And here's the link to the YouTube live stream if you'd like to watch that, or the LinkedIn if you're a member there. But that's what these posts are for. That's why I produce a post for every episode of Pod Save Chocolate. Before we get there, I'd like to remind everybody that this episode of Pod Save Chocolate, like every episode, is sponsored by the members of the Chocolate Life. If you're not a member of the Chocolate Life, you can click on the join button. There's always a free membership tier. And monthly support begins at $5 a month, and annual support includes, at the higher tiers, from the leader level and above, includes consulting hours. So if you'd like me to help you with your business questions that you might have, you can become a member and you get coaching and consulting hours, in addition to a monthly member AMA call. So in July and August, I'm going to be moving it from Sunday, the third Sunday, to the fourth Friday of the month, because I have been asked to see if Friday would be, during the work week, would be a better day to have these on. And we'll figure out what that's going to be like in July and August before we move to September. And with all that out of the way, we're going to be talking about transparency reporting in awards programs. And this is the post for today's episode, which is number 213. Last week's was 212, so we're in an off by one situation. We're 212 in New York, 213 is Los Angeles area codes. It's just a fun verbal pun that I've really leaned into many years ago when I was living in New York and in Los Angeles and at the same time. And so I created a sort of business which is called off by one, just to recognize the difference in area codes. So I spend a lot of time, anybody who is a regular listener here will know that I spend a lot of time doing a deep dive into analyzing awards programs. I want to know who has won awards, what has won awards, if we can make some trends, about percentages, about which producing countries seem to be awarded the most and why they are awarded the most. And can we see any patterns between, for example, an entrant which wins at a local competition? A local, I mean regional, so Asia Pacific, Americas, European, right? And if they'll win at an international level, that's specific to the International Chocolate Awards. But if a bar that wins in the International Chocolate Awards also wins in the Academy of Chocolate Awards or the Northwest Chocolate Festival, so we want some insight into the industry, and this is why transparency is important, not just when it comes to transparency and where cocoa beans come from, but transparency and how the competitions that we rely on to some extent to tell us this chocolate is award-winning and worthy of winning an award, and this chocolate is not worthy of winning an award, and for what reason, what goes. And so I think there's value in examining what we know about the way these competitions are organized, what information are they telling us, and what information are they not telling us. And that's, I think, we want to, start holding the organizers of these competitions to a higher level, a higher standard of scrutiny, especially when at least one of them is starting to say, well, traceability is a part of what is going to be a judging criterion moving forward. So if the award is saying traceability is a judging criterion, then please give us some idea about what it is that you're doing. And if you can, make it easier to do this analysis, because right now the analysis is incredibly difficult to do. It's extremely challenging for a bunch of reasons. So I'm going to start off in not necessarily in a chronological order, but I'm going to be starting off with the Academy of Chocolate Awards, which is headquartered in the UK. And I'm starting here because it actually does predate the International Chocolate Awards. My understanding is that there were people who were unhappy with sponsors of the Academy of Chocolate Awards seemingly always winning or getting a lot of awards very early on. And so what they wanted to do is they splintered off, they schismed, and they created another awards where there wouldn't be this sponsors are going to be highly recognized. That's my understanding of it. But here is the homepage of the Academy of the Chocolate Awards right now. This is live, right? As is this episode. The posts for every episode of Pod Save Chocolate are just they're not scripts, they're just a run of show notes to give you an idea about how to organize things. So if we click on the Read More button, what we do is here is a list of awards. And immediately we run into a problem in trying to deconstruct what's going on. And that is that it's a relatively flat table. And what I mean that is that we have a brand experience, which is a top-level descriptor, and then a sub-descriptor, which is product collection design, and then an award level, gold, and the name of a winner, Pump Street Chocolate, all in the same column. You can see that all in the same column, we have all of this information. And if we want to be able to pull it apart and actually examine it, what we need to do is we need to have a column for top-level category, a column for a subcategory, a column for award level, and a column for award winner. And then, so this is the name of the company, and then we need to have a column for the winter collection, which is the name of the winner. And so right now what we have is an information presentation style, which makes it incredibly difficult in order to be able to figure out what it is that's going on. We can search for this. This is actually fairly nice. So this is a dynamic table. I can search for things, and and the table updates relatively quickly. But we end up here with this sort of interesting challenge, which I see flavored chocolate drinks. I see flavored dark chocolate bars, which is in the flavored chocolate bars bean to bar category. And notice the bean to bar is a descriptor of flavored chocolate bars, and it's within parentheses. And why that's a challenge, right, is I come down here further along, and I'm trying to organize all this. I got a flavored. Is this flavored milk chocolate bar? Is this also bean to bar? It's not clear. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm looking at some of the names on here and I'm guessing that it is, but it's not explicit. So there's an inconsistency in the way data are presented, which is a challenge. At that level, I got flavored white chocolate bars. Again, I've got this. And then I come here, couverture flavored dark chocolate bar. I kind of wonder why this isn't all in uppercase when the previous category was in uppercase, and why couverture isn't over here is in parentheses. Right? And so one of the things that the Academy of Chocolate is doing here is it's making it incredibly difficult to organize this information and find this information in an interesting way. However, just the ability to search this way, and let's go find a name, Pump Street. So let's go find Pump Street. So it is really nice that I can look for Pump, and I can see all the different awards that Pump Street won at the. So that is very nice. However, as I said, it's a vertical. It's all a vertical column, and all this information is in the same column. And the search, it says I've got pumpkin seeds here. And is that good? Is that bad? It's hard to create something that's known as serendipity. It's hard to encourage serendipity where I find something that I didn't know that I was looking for. And so I'm tempted to say this is pretty cool because I didn't try Pump Street. I got pumpkin, and I'm trying to figure it out. But the number one thing that I got to say that the organizers of the Academy of Chocolate don't do that they have to do is they don't provide a link to the Pump Street Chocolate website. Right? Why? I mean, there are hundreds of winners. I don't actually know how many winners there are from this view. I'd have to go and download everything, which I have done, and rearranged it, which I have done. Right? But this is really, really challenging to put together. However, if I go to the home page, I have very, very clear. Here's about the winners. Right? I can look at the awards. I can look for previous years. So there is this 2022 second phase is kind of interesting. 2022, I am not entirely sure why these images are missing, but they go back to 2005, and I can find the winners. What we will find, which is nice, is that the same format has been adopted, but what has happened is that the names of the columns have changed. Is there a best organic dark chocolate bar? That's not the name of the column anymore, the name of the category anymore. So that is an issue when we look at this. But the other thing that we need to look at is we need to look at what are the judging requirements, how to submit your product, sample amounts, how to enter, basic requirements, registering your entry. About the awards. Let's go take a look at about the awards. So there's a history there. We click at how to enter. All right. And so enter the awards. You can go to a third-party website and do all this stuff. We have a PDF that may help you when entering the information. We have a video for you. Award details, the judging process. This is what I want to look at. And so one of the challenges with this awards program, and one of the challenges with all of the awards program, is that they all claim to be judging essentially the same thing, but they do it differently. Right? The basic categories of judges are similar. Some have more categories, some have few categories, and there is a different process going forward. But here, they have a judging protocol. They say that there is a sophisticated judging process, which is both rigorous and exacting. All right, so I don't know, you're going to be able to read this, but this judging process is both rigorous and exacting. Products are not ranked against each other, but scored on a range of attributes. So each one is considered individually. For some reason, we have this phrase, rigorous and exacting. Not sure why it's replicated. Each product is scored objectively. So no, products are not scored objectively. Every single one of these scores are subjective based upon the taste and experience of individual judges. So anybody who tells you that judging is subjective is misrepresenting what it is they're doing. The quality is based on a range of attributes, attributes that are applicable to the corresponding category. So aroma, texture, formulation, taste, execution, mouthfeel, and aftertaste. So those are similar to the category of judging. In most competitions, they're named a little bit differently. I'm not sure what that glitch was, but they're named a little bit differently. And this is one challenge, is if we look at what it is that the Academy of Chocolate Awards is judging, we look at what the International Chocolate. Each attribute is rated on a scale of essentially 1 to 5, very poor, poor, average, good, and excellent. I'm a fan of using phrases, descriptors, text descriptors, rather than numbers, rather than saying, you know, this scores in a 1 to 10, and this is 11 to 20, and this is 21 to 30. We don't know what that means. It means excellent, good, average, poor, very poor. I like ordinary for the midpoint scale. So this is ordinary. Something like, you know, not worth the calories might be something there, but some emotional descriptors. Unfortunately, the ratings are converted to numeric scores to give a total score for each project. The score will then be converted into the corresponding award level. What we don't have here is we actually don't have the scoring rubric. We don't actually know the form that the judges are asked to fill out, right? The other thing we don't know is, which is I think really important, is that if I can go and look at the 2025 award winners, there are lots of award winners here. But I don't know how many, again, there are lots of award winners here, but I don't know how many awards were given total, and I don't know how many entries there were. Do 50% of people who enter win awards? Do 80% of the people win awards? It's impossible to know, which is really unfortunate. So there's not a whole lot of transparency in reporting here, right? We can't go to the websites. The organization is not put together very well. We don't know who the judges actually are. We can go take a look at the committee, right? And I would guess that most of these people are in fact judges, but I don't know that they are judges. I know many of these people personally. I've met most of them. Well, if not all of them. The only person I'm not sure that I have met is Cherry, but I believe I met everybody else who's on this list. And so, but we don't know who the judges are for this specific competition, which is, again, a real challenge to understand what it is that's going on. And so are they being transparent? I don't think they are. We can demand a whole lot more transparency from them. So the reason why, next we're going to go look at the International Chocolate Awards. And the reason why there are 2 links here is that the International Chocolate Awards maintains 2 websites. So if we go to the main International Chocolate Awards website, this is it. So there's a link to winners, there's a link to About Us, there's a link to enter, and all this information. But if we go to the winners page, what we do is we don't actually find that there are any winners lists here. There's an interview with Fechoria do Cacau, which is a fabulous Portuguese chocolate makers, an interview with Solkiki, right, which is in the UK, an interview with Mikkel for his home. But we look at this and there aren't actually any winners. Oh, here we have to go. We have to go all the way down to here and we find the 2023 winners. So what's this all about? Well, you may have noticed that there's this little link down here called Enter Our Professional Website. We'll get to that. But here's another thing to know, which is that the International Chocolate Awards are run by the International Institute for Chocolate Cacao Tasting, the IICCT. So there is a definite connection. So Monica Meschini, Marisol Persia, Martin Christie are the people who are at the head of the IICCT, and they're running these awards. That's really important to understand. About Us, if we were to go there, What does that mean? It's the world's largest chocolate competition. That is almost certainly true. Their mission, who we are. They were founded in 2012. They're run by IICC2, with a group of independent international partners. We see the founders, the lead grand jury. Again, I know pretty much all of these people. I've been in correspondence with many of them. I first started corresponding with Alex Rast in 1998 or 1999. We know, okay, so this is, we talk about IICCT, and then there's the list of competitions that you can go to. But there's nothing, I mean, we have to, there's one post to 2023 winners. And so what we have to do is we actually have to go to another website. And this is the professional website, right? Let's, first of all, let's go find out more. What is, and this find out more is the same thing as, oh, we go back to the other website. Well, that's not very interesting, right? We might have always been there, find out more. Let's go back, right, to this one. And so let's go, oh, okay, this is cool, all right? Here's where we start getting the winners. So we have the competitions which are in progress. So the Indian craft chocolate competition. The winner's announcement was going to be in June. Hasn't been confirmed, but now we have a list of the 2026 winners. So let's go there. All right. So right now we have the European, Middle Eastern, and African bean to bar competition 2026. So one thing that's interesting about this is we have to go to, if we go to the 2018, this is just the European bean to bar competition. So European, Middle Eastern, and African. So the scope of the European bean to bar competition has been expanded. Neither here nor there, but it's interesting to know. One thing, it gives us a little bit of history. It gives us a little bit of analysis. So Danish chocolate pioneer, Mikkel for his home, once again proved to be one of the competition's most awarded makers, 4 golds, accompanied by multiple special prizes, Italian makers. So you can get a little bit of overall analysis, but let's go take a look. Number one is we don't know who the judges are. So we have a photograph here, but there's nothing which helps us name who the judges are. And notice that this is for the British, French, Benelux, Scandinavian awards, which are not the middle. So this is a generic awards group, so we don't know who the awards are. We don't have any lists here to the judging rubric. So we don't know how anything was judged, at least on this page. They don't give us any information about how things were judged. But let's go figure it out. So we have, so this again is the bugaboo for what's going on. So we have the category, which is best in competition, overall winners. Then we have a subcategory, plain origin dark chocolate bar categories. So, right, then we have an award level, a maker. At least now I've got the URL of the maker. Thank you very much. I can get it. The country that they are from, or that's the company where the maker is located. We have a 70% Echarate. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Echarate is going to be probably the name of a specific origin. So a very, very specific origin. 91.7 is the score that this bar received. So 70% is obviously the percentage. This star here, the Aroma Inversiones SAC, means that this bar was not actually manufactured by Vigdis Rosenkilde. It was manufactured for Vigdis by Cacao Suyo. They're in Peru, so wherever Echarate is, it's somehow located to Peru, right? So we have this category, but again, I have all of this information, right? Best in competition. I have a category, I have a subcategory, I have an award, I have a maker, I have a country, I have a winning product name, I have a score, and then I have this other thing here, which is if it was made by someone else. All of that is in one column. I mean, if you go take a look at this, all of these things are in the same column, whereas this needs to be in a column and this needs to be in a column and this needs, so it's incredibly difficult to decompose these. And we go further down to this into the plain origin bar category. So plain origin dark bar categories. So plain origin bars is the category. Plain origin dark is the subcategory. All right. And then within the subcategory, again, we have an award level, a maker, a country, the name of the winning product, the score of the winning product. We have this, if it was made by somebody else. We have this double asterisk, which, if we're lucky, it's winning products with an entrant's own bean to bar chocolate are marked with double asterisks. Okay, well, that's cool. So winning products made with the maker's own chocolate. This is sort of weird because it's private label, as we can see here. It's a private label product. So I don't understand how this all works. It seems to be this double and this single seem to be contradict each other. But again, it's all in one column, all mixed together. And keep in mind, now that we have things that are in a second column, right, under this, right, which are special awards. So they've got a gold award for being directly traded, a special award for cacao sourcing. That's big. But we come into Frizz Home, and it's gold for being a Danish chocolate maker, gold for being a chocolate maker, or I suppose gold for being in Denmark, right? Directly traded and cacao sourcing, right? But this is replicated. So, we've got, we sometimes find that, for example, this Frizz Home, so this bar, La Dalia, which I've been to in Nicaragua, has got this gold chocolate maker, gold directly traded. So there's an enormous amount of redundancy in here. So we go through this and we just, I have to know, right? So I can search for Frizz, which I'm doing right now, sort of like, like Mikkel Frizz Home, and I can search through Frizz Home, but I have so Frizz Home appears 26 times in this document, but that doesn't mean that they won 26 awards because they appear in this description of once. So it's really, really difficult for me to figure out what it is that goes on. And I have spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours doing this by hand, which is incredibly tedious and error prone, as you might imagine, but also generating scripts using LLMs. Claude is especially good at this, to be able to deconstruct these things and put them into tables. And okay, so that's, just amazingly challenging to do. So, but if we were to go and take a look at, again, the professional website, number one is we have no clue as to who the judges are. We have no clue as the member of the public what the judging rubric is. We don't know what they're judging. They don't know how they judge it. But here's a really, really interesting thing about the International Chocolate Awards. When they say that they are the largest awards program in the world, it's because they have a butt ton. That's the technical term for it. They have a lot of competitions. So they have a drinking chocolate competition, DACH, which is Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, and Eastern European competitions, the Italy, Mediterranean, European, Middle Eastern, and African. I understand. Okay, these are links to the actual winners, I believe. Asia Pacific, British, French Canada, French Benelux, Scandinavian, Americas, so North USA, separate from Latin America, and the Caribbean. There's a new Canadian craft chocolate competition. So they've got a lot. In Indian, there's one in Peru, there's a World Finals, and one in Colombia. And so what happens is that you need to, if you want to be in the World Finals, I believe you need to have won in a previous competition, right, that year in order to submit. So there's a multi-stage competition. But we don't know anything about, again, how many companies entered, right? We don't know. In this case, there's a triage round before people go into final judging. We don't know anything about that, right? Why is it important? because we don't know the scale of these things. They've said they're the world's largest, certainly by the number of competitions there are the world's largest, but we don't actually know what percentage of companies that enter, what percentage of bars that are entered actually win awards, right? And part of that challenge is that it's possible to vote stuff. I mean, if I enter 10 bars into a category and there are only 20 entries in the category, I'm exaggerating, but the more bars I enter into any specific categories and the more bars I enter overall, the more likely I am to win multiple awards, right? And for example, in the 2018 European Bean to Bar competition, which I talked about, I asked the question, which producing country was awarded most often? Right? So many people would say, well, Madagascar is the origin that people will get to, or Venezuela, or Ecuador, or Peru. That turned out not to be the case. It turned out to be that Nicaragua was the most awarded producing country because Frizz Home won the most awards. He entered more and won more than any other company that year. And he uses almost exclusively, if not exclusively, Nicaraguan cocoa. Right? And without understanding some of these relationships, it's really hard to be able to get to that level of detail. Why is a producing country awarded? That same year, 2018, in the Americas round, the number one awarded producing country was Ecuador. Why? Right? Because Picari won the most awards. If we go to Asia Pacific, what's the most awarded producing country? Taiwan, because Fuwan won most of the awards. But it would be interesting to see, did any of these winners in 2026 at the highest level, the world's, did any of them win in the Academy of Chocolate Awards? That would be interesting to know if there's any overlap. And it's really, really hard to do when the data are presented in a really, really difficult way. We don't know if we're comparing the same things. There's no consistency. So are they actually spelling the names of the companies and spelling the names of the products the same way so that we can say, yeah, this is a direct comparison? It's a real mess, right? And why should anybody want to know this, right? And if you are a chocolate maker and you are spending money entering the awards, you want to understand what that award means to you, right? How do you, I mean, to say that I got an 89 compared to some other company getting an 85, so I get silvers, right? As opposed to golds, right? It really, what does that mean, right? Were you one of 20 other entrants? Were you one of 500 other entrants? I mean, are you competing against winners, companies that have been winning consistently over a decade, or are you competing against brand new makers? There's a whole lot of information we don't understand about the world of chocolate making that we should know. And the people who are producing these awards are sitting on top of a treasure trove of information that has value that they're not sharing with it, and they're not taking advantage of in any usable way. And so one of the things that I want to talk about is, okay, you guys should go. I think it would better the industry if you guys were more open, more transparent about what it is that you're doing, right? Because it would enable people who are interested in this to be able to develop a much better understanding of what the specialty chocolate world looks like. My theory is the reason why they're not going to do this ever, right? And this is backed up from some personal experience in talking about this with people who run some of the largest programs, awards programs, is that if you know how many people enter the awards and you know how many products are entered into the awards, you know how much money they make. And they don't want you to know how much money they make. I mean, there's no transparency reporting in the scale. Are they making a lot of money, right? Are they losing money, right? No one knows, right? They can't be losing a lot of money because they keep doing this every year, right? But we don't know the economic scale of what these programs are. And I don't think we're ever going to be told how many entrants there are by how many companies ever, right? Or anymore, because to some extent, the International Chocolate Awards had been doing it in previous years. I don't think we're ever going to get it anymore, because if you know that as a company you need to pay a registration fee of say $100, and each product that you enter is $50, if we know there are 800 companies, so 800, so you can do that math, right? That's $80,000. And then if you could say if there are 2,500 entries at $50 a piece, you can do that math and you can know how much money is involved in each one of the competition. And that if you win in one competition, you re-enter it and it costs the same or more in a second competition. Oh my gosh, you can get an idea about what the value of these programs are. And maybe one reason they don't want to do it is they rely on free labor. I mean, almost all of the judging that is being done in these competitions is being done by volunteers, right? So if there are any proceeds, if people are getting paid, it's the organizers, not the volunteers. And one of the reasons why I stopped judging at the International Chocolate Awards, I've never judged the Academy of Chocolate Awards, because I needed to foot my own expenses to travel to London to be a judge, and I wasn't going to pay for the privilege, is that I decided to stop paying for the quote unquote privilege, especially when the organizers of the awards are not going to explicitly list, right, who the judges are. I don't, if I can't say that I'm a judge, right, and the website doesn't acknowledge that I'm a judge, I can do it from my own learning experience, which is a valid reason for doing this, and it's one of the reasons why I did it for many years, because I saw it as a learning exercise. But then I saw the imbalance of the economic relationship, and they're saying if I am not going to be rewarded, at least in terms of recognition, then I'm not going to continue to be a volunteer. I'm not going to continue to devote hours and hours and hours and hours of my time for the benefit of someone else. And so that's why I stopped. And this is why I think that if you are interested in being a judge, that's one of the things you need to consider. Where is the trade-off between what is the value to me as a learning experience, and what is the imbalance of the relationship between what it is that I'm receiving and what it is the organizers are receiving. And that's one of the reasons why I think that there needs to be transparency in terms of the economic relationship. As I say, I don't think they're ever going to get there for a bunch of reasons, but I think it's a great question to ask. Important. So International Chocolate Awards, on a transparency scale, the Academy of Chocolate and the International Chocolate, if I were to do a 0, like completely opaque, to 4, completely transparent, I would put both of these and at the like a 0.5 somewhere. They're the transparent, and the International Chocolate Awards is only more transparent because they actually provide the URLs to the companies that win, whereas the Academy of Chocolate doesn't even have the courtesy to actually link directly to the companies. Fortunately, what I can do is I can say, oh, I have a table of, I've done this enough. So I actually have a table of, company names, and here are the URLs. So I can just go and say, oh, here's company A. I already have the URL, just copy it. So I've got a lot of that already done, but I can tell you it's hundreds of hours of work over the last decade to get there. Next, Good Food Awards. So Good Food Awards. So this is the live website. We have the 2026 Good Food Award winners. Here they are. These are all of the winners in all of the categories. So they're mixed. We have cheese, we have coffee, we have tea. They're all listed. AR 70%, the Zeke bar, Allagash. So they're organized by the name of the company that won. All right. So, okay. We've got all of that going over there. Hey, a comment come in. So this is from Lassa Skinner. If a maker wins, how are they benefiting? Are they putting the win on their packaging? Do the entrants in the judging get comments from the judges? So Lassa, those are two really, really good questions. So if a maker wins, you can see that one of the benefits is the competition website lists them as winners and the categories. So there is some recognition. There's also usually an awards ceremony, which is held somewhere, which will be promoted on social media. So there is some promotion. None of these winners actually do much more than one or two social media recognitions. They're just, and they don't go beyond this. However, you can purchase stickers, you can purchase the artwork, you can put the artwork from your win onto your package. One of the challenges with this, and I think it may be less. So everybody, I know Lassa, and her expertise is cheese, and we have discussed many of these things at length. Is that, for example, if I could put the fact that I won an award for a bar in the 2024 Good Food Awards, but I could put it on the bar for the 2026 Good Food Awards if the same product won an award. And I could actually have multiple awards for the same bar in multiple years at multiple different levels. So I can do that. But there's no guarantee that if you look at, a bar and it says, I won this in 2024, that the bar you're consuming actually is the same as the bar, again, because single origin chocolate bars have a tendency to change from harvest to harvest, because that's part of the ethos of being a craft chocolate maker, a specialty chocolate maker, that consistency is not one of your prime concerns. I think that in the world of cheese making, for the most part, that, if a cheesemaker were to take, so if I were to have a Mountain Blue or something like that, and it was really, really different from year over year, I think that the consumer would get really confused. It's something we expect in wine. We don't expect it in beer. And we sort of expect it in specialty chocolate, but we don't expect it in chocolate. So a long way to go to saying that there is a badge. Sometimes you license it and it's for free. If you want to buy stickers, they charge you for the stickers. If you don't want to update your packaging to include it on the packaging, you put a sticker. So the competition will benefit from this, and the winner will benefit from it. I don't know how much it really matters, the stickers, to the average consumer walking up and buying a bar of chocolate. What I do know anecdotally, Lassa, and this is the reason why there's a lot of competition for these, is that the average buyer in a specialty grocery store, like Sprouts, like Gelson's, maybe AJ's here in Arizona, they don't know a lot about chocolate. And so often the decisions about whether a bar gets into retail distribution in a specialty grocery store is based on, does it have an award? So it can affect distribution if what you want to do as a chocolate maker is get into grocery distribution. You may have to have a distributor. A distributor may make the decision to pick you up based on whether or not you have an award. Certainly the retail store is going to make a decision based on whether or not you have an award. So a long way to go about, if a maker wins, that's how they're benefiting, right? Is, for the most part, they can promote it. But like many things, like when I went out on my book tour for Discover Chocolate back in 2007, right? I had to do almost all of the promotion for the book. My publisher didn't know about anything about marketing books around chocolate. And so I had to figure out how to do it. If you're a maker and you win one of these awards, one of the things that you need to realize is that your ability to monetize the award is going to be dependent on how you monetize. You have to be active about monetizing it, and you have to have a specific goal for what it is that you want to do with the award. So, do the entrants in the judging get comments from the judges? The answer to that question is yes and no. It's complicated. All of the judges in the International Chocolate Awards, which I've judged in, the Craft Chocolate Awards, other chocolate awards programs, are asked to provide comments. And those may or may not be transmitted to the maker. It's hit or miss. When I was a judge in the Good Food Awards confectionery category, there was no feedback given to the entrants. The Craft Chocolate Challenge, which I'll talk about, is all about feedback. I mean, we spend more time as judges, right? I'm a judge in the Craft Chocolate Challenge. I spend more time as a judge writing responses for the maker than I do thinking about, oh, am I giving this a 1 to a 5 on the scale, right? So it does depend upon the competition. Last I looked, the Northwest Chocolate Festival / Chocolate Alliances charges you, if you want feedback, when you enter your product, you need to say, I want feedback, and here's an extra payment in order to guarantee that I get feedback from people. So it does depend. In the Craft Chocolate Challenge, it is up to the judge to decide if they want to make themselves publicly known, which I do. And so if any of the entrants wants to email me and goes, you gave me this feedback, can you tell me more? They're more than welcome to do that. And that's not the case. One of the reasons why that works is that we get somewhere between 60 and 100 entries. We're not looking for 800, 1,000 entries in a competition, or 800, or hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of entries each in multiple competitions. And so we have the luxury, if you want to put it that way, of giving a lot more time and attention to. And so, Lassa, both great questions. And if I didn't answer them completely, let me know, and I will do more. So next question from James. We find that the award sticker is extremely beneficial in converting sales when we get the chance to talk to customers face to face. So James, by saying that, I'm going to guess that when you say face to face, this is going to be in a farmer's market, if you're doing some sort of tasting in a retail situation, or if you're at a festival, right? So absolutely, right? What you have the ability to put all these awards and being able to finish a sale by someone who's interested, it makes an enormous amount of sense. But you'll notice that one of the things that I said, it is up to you to do the work, right? Because the organizers of the competitions aren't doing that work for you, right? Which is interesting. They could do that. They could make that a part of their remit, but they don't do that. Kind of interested. Again, it's their business. They can do whatever it is that they want. But I would be interested in knowing, James, if you could get back to me and saying that, what are the situations when you're talking to customers face to face? Are they markets? Are you doing retail tastings? Or are you doing a tasting in a retail environment? If you are interested in getting distribution, retail distribution, do you find that the distributors that you're talking to want these, so it makes their ability to sell them through into their customers something as well? I would be interested in knowing specifically the situations that you're talking about there, because I think they're important. And then, so Lassa, thanks, lots of great info. I appreciate that. Right, there's a lot. Hey, Lassa, we can talk about cheese competitions at some point, how this works. So anyway, we're here at the Good Food Awards. What I can do is I can go look at the category of chocolate, or let's go confections, and I can look at all the 2026 confection winners. So what I can see here is that the organizing rubric is, again, alphabetical by the name of the winner. So French Broad here, Hacienda, Cachot, Only Child. And what I've got here is information that is it's spread across multiple lines. So all I know is, here is the name of the winning product. Here is the name of the company that produced it, with the URL, that helps. Then I've got a location, Asheville, North Carolina. So this is always in the United States. Each one of these is in a region. We see, here's the list of regions. We're now looking at all regions. The region is not listed. I would have to go and combine So I'd like to know, oh, Pacific, how many people in the West as opposed to East? What is the distribution of winners? That's not easy to do for the way the information is produced. We have, here's where we have to be careful. Is there a hard break here? Is this on the same line and it's just wrapping within a table that we can't see? I'm hoping the way that is. And we can see again here, Whiskey Pie Pat de Fouille. Notice that Yammy Yammy is the name of the company. So it turns out that these pages are difficult to deconstruct. If I come across to the chocolate category, similar kind of thing, all right? So we can organize it. And if I want to, one of the great things about this is that every single year, the competition has been here. Now, in 2025, last year was like the 15th anniversary of the awards. And so they went back through a lot of the previous winners and chose top 3. But I can go back here and at least they are presented in the same way. So when I do the scraping of page to page to page, what I can do is I can organize these properly. So it's relatively easy, but it turns out that the underlying HTML structure changes from year to year to year, and it was really difficult to do. Also, here's the challenge is that I happen to know that Rogue Chocolatier is no longer in business. And one of the things that needs to be done, however, is you need to find out, are there any other companies that are no longer in business? So Blue Bandana, which was founded by the son of the founder of Lake Champlain. I don't know if Blue Bandana is in business any longer. So the answer is absolutely not. They're no longer in business. It's a challenge. So there's a lot of work that needs to get done. And then we go find the category in chocolate goes back to 2011, but there was no confectionery winner in 2011 because the category didn't exist until a couple of years later. So there's a lot of work to do here. But again, here's the other thing. We have rules and regulations, right? But we don't understand what the judging rubric is for chocolate and confectionery, if there is one. We don't know who the judges are. And at this point, one of the things that's really interesting to understand is that the Good Food Awards is now owned by the Specialty Food Association. And if I click on the About, I'm not certain if this is up to date. So really, really interesting to understand what's going on about this. Oh, I do. The Good Food is now part of the Specialty Food Association. I believe the reason the merger is that the Good Food Awards wasn't profitable enough, even though it is a nonprofit, and so got folded into the SFA. And there's no understanding. Again, I don't know that judging is going to become any more transparent going forward. Right. One of the good things, however, about Good Food Awards, and notice this is the Good Food Awards in the US, not the UK Good Food Awards, they're different, is that you have the opportunity to participate in the Good Food Mercantile and the other programs that the association puts together. Now, I want to, I need to apologize because there is a bug in the new browser that I'm working in, and it can get lost. And so I had needed to close the window and reopen the window. But that's what we've got for the Good Food Awards. Number one is that we have, these look identical, but they're nothing alike in terms of what they do, right? In any event, the Good Food Awards on a transparency, they're again at 0. They don't tell you how many people entered. They don't tell you what the judging rubric is. They just provide you with the winners, and all the then there's no differentiation, which is neither good nor bad. There's no gold, there's no silver, there's no bronze. It's just you're a winner or you're not a winner. But we don't know anything about who these people are and how they win. So it's again, from a transparency perspective, we don't know anything about them. What I do is, again, I can point an LLM, I can point Claude at the page. I can say, here's an example of what the output should look like. You go figure it out, grab all the data and put it into this page. And that's what I've done. I've got every single year of all of the confectionery and chocolate awards from the Good Food Awards, except for 2026. I've got it through 2025. It's all in one table. And so I can do all these wonderful comparisons, like which company has won the most awards, which state is the most popular, and things like that. So, is there a flavor that appears to be more popular than other flavors? So this is one of the reasons why it's really, really important to be able to get at the data. But again, none of us have any understanding of what the economic value of these awards are. So let me go back to James, who says that if we're going back to the awards being beneficial in converting sales, the environments are markets, tasting, and food festivals. We don't bother with distributors yet. Margins aren't quite right. James, absolutely. This is the place to understand. What you want to be able to do is you want to be able to, as a part of what it is you're doing, craft a narrative that if a distributor comes to you or you go to a distributor, what you can do is you can legitimately say, these appear to be our best sellers, or these, having this award makes them more gives them some credibility that they might not have otherwise, especially because there are hundreds of brands. And how do you differentiate one brand from another? So, for example, if I were to go to the International Chocolate Awards, what I could say is how many unique companies, right, are in this list, right? Right. And that's an important thing. So I won five, I was one of 232 companies that won an award, or there were 78 companies that won 232 awards, and I was one of them. So number one is, if I were to be able to provide you with that data, if I were to look at all the 2025 and all the 2026 awards, and I can say at the International Chocolate Awards and at the Academy of Chocolate Awards, 422 different companies were awarded, and between them, they won 1,097 prizes, and we were one of this group of people who won. Would that be interesting? So yeah, it's just curious to know. It's valuable for me, all right, to be able to talk about things. Okay, so for some reason that was duplicated. Not entirely sure why. All that kind of stuff. But James, absolutely, you're doing the right thing. You're understanding what's going on, and you're putting together a framework that you can use to pitch to people if and when you get to that point. It's really, really important to be able to do that. Not everybody has that awareness, and so you want to be able to do that. So real just quick understanding that this is the 25th anniversary of the Chocolate Life, or Pod Safe Chocolate, or me being a professional chocolate critic. And I am running, and today is the last day, to become a lifetime member at a special lifetime membership rate. If you click on that button, you can learn more about what it means to be a lifetime member and decide whether the benefits make sense to you. One of the things you get as a lifetime member is, instead of 3 hours per year at the guru rate, you get 5 hours per year, but you've done this as a one-time payment. So by the time you get to the second year, you're hundreds of dollars ahead in terms of membership and consulting. So just wanted to do a quick pitch there for Chocolate Life membership. Let's go to another one, the Northwest Chocolate Festival, the Northwest Chocolate Alliance Awards. Let's do a quick. So here's the Northwest Chocolate Festival website. And it talks about the Northwest Chocolate Festival. The word awards doesn't appear anywhere on this page that I can see. It gives you the dates for the festival, where the festival is. It says it's been around for a while, since 2008. There's no indication anywhere on this page about there being an awards program. All right, so we have to do a little. We know about the unconference, the festival, we can buy tickets, all that other kind of stuff. We don't know anything. However, there is an awards program. I know there's an awards program because I get email about it. So let's go to the awards program page. Here's the awards program page. It talks about the Global Chocolate Awards, and it talks about the world's best chocolate. Okay. It says, ooh, with up to 1,000 entries per year from 37 countries. They got a lot of entries, but notice that this says 2023 to 2024. I don't know if you can notice that it says 2023 to 4. It does say that. Let's see. The open entry for artists and chocolate makers is scheduled for January 5th. And the submission window will be March 1st to 15th, 2024. So we're in 2026. This page hasn't been updated in quite some time. And there's no link to this page. This is the part that's really interesting. There's actually no link to this page from anywhere. I can literally click on here, do a search, and look for AWA or awards. And awards doesn't appear anywhere on the page, which is really, really unfortunate. Let's go back. But take a look at this. Please visit the Chocolate Alliance. Well, here's what happens when you go visit the Chocolate Alliance website. It's not active. I'm not going to, I didn't click to it here because it takes forever to resolve. So I have it already resolved in here. So that there is no Chocolate Alliance website apparently at the moment that's working. And notice that this is the 2022 award winner list, so 2023, but there are no award winners here, right? So what are we talking about? I mean, there are no awards. If I go to the Wayback Machine and I click 2023 and I go to the same page, I went here, I wanted to know if it was just something, but there are no award winners. If I go to previous pages, previous years, there's no list anywhere of who the winners are. And are they transparent? Number one is, I don't even know how I enter the awards this year from their website. I can exhibitor inquiry. This is the Chocolate Festival. It's like I'm here with the awards, right? This is the page for the awards. There's a URL here, awards, and I don't see anything. And I know for a fact that, because I spoke with Bryan Cisneros about this, they don't have internally any record of who the winners were in 2013. I believe I have all previous years archived somewhere, archived somewhere on a hard drive. I'm in the process of organizing all that stuff because it's been a long-term effort. But they don't know who won in 2013. And there's no list here. And I'm kind of figuring out, okay, I don't know who the judges are. I don't know who the winners are. I don't know what the judging process is. So again, from a transparency perspective, the Northwest Chocolate Festival gets a very low score when it comes to openness. If you want to, you can go to the same page that I just showed you. Right, I've given you the link to the Wayback page. Another challenge I want to talk, another program I want to talk about is the AVPA. So is the Agence de Valorisation des Produits Agricoles, or the Agency for the Valorization of Agricultural Products. They do a series of awards programs, one of which is chocolate processed at origins. They also have coffee and tea and oil, which are done. In order to enter, you must become a member of the AVPA. And here is the competition entry. And what we can do is, here are the results for 2025. It's a PDF file, right? Right. So it has its own challenges associated with extracting the data. Number one is, again, no URLs. I don't know how to get it. You can put a URL in a PDF file. Doing the translation from French into English, not a problem. But the organization is very, very straightforward. It does take a while to decompose the PDF because PDFs are notoriously difficult to pull apart, because just the way Adobe writes the PDF files, there can be weird kinds of breaks. So I have this here. I have done the extraction of this. It exists in a table somewhere. Let's go take a look at the rules. What are the rules? This is always good. So the rules, it talks about what the aim of the organization is, who can participate, what the payments are, and who the jury is. So the AVPA has a jury of 6 to 12 members, right? The members of the jury are French speaking. They are professionals in the sector, right? So the main characteristics of the jury are its cultural and linguistic homogeneity, right? They want you to be French, right? If you are not French or French enough, I don't know if there are any French Canadian judges, for example. If you're not French enough, you can't be on the judge, right? You can't be on the jury because this is really all about the French market and its plurality because it includes a diversity of chocolate and cocoa professionals, um, taste professionals, and enlightened amateurs. So there's a jury which is a cross section. So it gives a substantial opinion to gastronomic culture and a good French taste. That's the purpose of the competition. Or organizing the jury. So there's a technical committee of at least 3 members, headed by the president. It participates in the classification and preliminary analysis that allows the organization of the world of chocolates in competition, right? So the jury, there's a he, that's the translation from French into English, tastes and grades the products which will be offered to the sagacity of the second jury. The jury decisions are sovereign and no challenge will be accepted. So what this says is what the jury decides is what's going to stand. So here's what you need to fill out and enter something. So the products are classified in homogeneous tasting categories and then in professional categories. So you have tasting categories, include product types and organoleptic families. So we have dark chocolate bean to bar in bar, and then black chocolate in bars with 65% cocoa minimum. I don't understand the difference between bean to bar and black chocolate in bars with 65% cocoa minimum. It doesn't really, so it must be produced from beans harvested from trees belonging to the chocolate maker or beans purchased from third parties. That's the differentiation, right? So here I can purchase finished chocolate from someone. Here I need to either make it myself from beans that I grow or beans that I purchase from someone else in the same country. So it's not straightforward. Again, the difference between dark chocolate and black chocolate is a French thing. And then cocoa derived products, I don't think is sufficient. So these are culturally appropriate definitions or categorizations that if you're not French may not make sense because to some extent, this bean to bar is in fact a cocoa derived product. So what does that all mean? It doesn't describe what organoleptic families are, so that doesn't make. So type of productions, estate chocolate, regional chocolate, national chocolate. We mean the socioeconomic model presiding over the development of the samples. So it also, what is the technical committee? There are 2 juries, a technical jury and an organoleptic jury. This section talks about what does the technical committee do? What does the organoleptic jury do? So you have a really good understanding of sort of the process, but there's no understanding what the judging rubric is. And again, we don't have any idea about how many entries there were and how many entries were given awards. So that's a challenge to go through. They're a little more open. We don't know. We know who the president of each one of the juries, or the head of each one of the juries is. We don't know who the jury members are. They're a little more transparent, but they're not entirely transparent. So on a scale of 0 to 4, somewhere around the 1 category, I would be much happier if we go take a look at the results, and I may just have triggered the blood, if there was a link here to the company so we could find these things out. We find the medals, we found the categories, right? But I don't understand how these are the organic elliptic categories or the production categories and how the national, right? So this one was given Prix Spécial by Chloe Dutrusel, who may be on the jury. I don't know. She's not the head of either technical or organoleptic jury this year. It's tantalizing, right? But I can tell you that again, scraping all this data off these pages, and then I did trigger the bug there. I think I know what's going on here. there are reasons why I like using this browser, and I will continue to use this browser. But anyway, so let's jump from the AVPA to the Craft Chocolate Challenge. So I will tell you that I am a judge in the Craft Chocolate Challenge, an advisor to the organizer. So here's the homepage of the Craft Chocolate Challenge. Here we have season 5. And what we have here is we have a list of the winners for the 2026 Craft Chocolate Challenge, right? We also have the judging panel, right? So we don't have the names, but we have the profiles. If anybody's interested, I am juror number 2, judge number 2. So we have the panel. You get an idea about what they like and what their background is, what they do: educator, writer, enthusiast, reviewer, maker, and chocolate sommelier. One of the members here is, in fact, an IICCT certified chocolate maker. Again, I would have to say I'm not a fan of the fact that we don't have URLs to the winners. I wish we had URLs to the winners. We see Chucho Peru here. We don't have an origin for this. So there are some differentiations here. I wish it was more open, but there are interesting thing. Here's an alumni. Here's a list of all the chocolate makers who have ever entered and when they debuted, as well as a link to every single one of the companies. So we can get to the links for the companies. So here are all the debuts. Not entirely certain why the formatting changed. That's a Wix thing, because that's where it's done. So we do have some information there, but I will say, and this is not, again, something that I wished that Dustin did. I don't want to go here. I want to go here. Is that this is the list of entries. So this is the Wayback Machine, and it is the April 14th scrape of the website for season 5 of the Craft Chocolate Challenge 2026. And here is a list of all of the entries. So that's pretty cool. We have a list of all of the entries, and these are links to, because I'm at archive, these are all links to archive.org. But I do have the list of every single entry that made it in. And so what I can do is I can say, oh, there were 3 white chocolate winners, gold, silver, and bronze. There were only 6 entries, and now we can find out which entries did not win. So this is incredibly valuable information in terms of understanding what's going on. So it's really, really important that we do this. The other thing which is really, really interesting about the way the Craft Chocolate Challenge is put together is that the judging platform is public, right? So all of the judges use the Beanstalker judging platform. And so you can go look at the bars that are on the platform. And I could go look at, let's say, this Blue Spruce chocolate. I happen to know it because I judged it this year in the 2026 challenge. And now it says it's an entry in the challenge. It gives you the origin. It gives you a price. And it will tell you the flavors that people came up. I wish this were a link someplace. I don't think there's a link to the company that produced it. Just little details really do make this. But there were 10 reviews. Here's where you saw where the overlap is. Here's the flavor wheel that all the judges use. And then you got a total review, right? And these reviews are not ones by the Craft Chocolate Challenge judges, right? Just really, really quick. I don't see mine in here, right? And this is yeah, so in terms of openness, this is, from a judging perspective, this is what it is that I'm looking to see, right? In terms of moving forward, I want to be able to do a deep dive. I want the makers of the organizers of these competitions to be more open and more transparent. I don't necessarily think any of them is going to provide information that will help us pull apart their business model and figure out if they're making money, if they're profitable, or any of those things. But understanding what the value of this information is in terms of understanding the specialty chocolate market is where I am going with this. There's an insane amount of data, right? That the IICCT, right? That 4 people, Alex Rast, Martin Christie, Marisol Persia, and Mona Moschini have about the industry. And I don't know what they do with it. I've asked them to make it easier, right? Oh, everything you put on that page comes out of a database because everything goes into a database from a judging in a database. Can you just put it into a spreadsheet in a format that would make it easy to take a look at it? And they have no interest in doing it. And I'm not entirely certain why. I would like to know more specifically. I mean, right there on the page, right? What is the judging rubric? Right? So exactly how these things were evaluated. If there was a weighting system, what does the weighting system look like? If you are a judge at the International Chocolate Awards, you fill out a form, and it's a black box, right? We don't know what the algorithms are. We don't know how these things are weighted. We don't know if there's a bug in the code. We don't know anything about this. It's just that we trust and do not verify, right? We just trust that these people are doing the right things, right? And I don't know that that's a bad thing, right? That this level of trust is, right? But it is a black box, and we don't know if it works properly, right? And we don't know how to compare the results of one awards competition with another awards competition, right? If I enter into the Academy of Chocolate Awards and it doesn't win in the International Chocolate Awards, is it because I sent a different production batch? So the lot codes were different? Is it because the judges are different? Is it because the judging rubric is different? I mean, one of the great things about being a certified beer judge is, first of all, we start off with, the styles of beer, the types of beer that we're going to be judging. Those are globally agreed to, right? Everybody who's going to put together a beer judging competition is, if they want it to be recognized, is going to set up the judging rubric in the same way, right? And there's value in doing that. We don't have that, right? Are we working towards that? Probably. I think we're working towards that. And I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a little too early to settle on one. It took specialty coffee 2 to 3 decades after they started focusing on what does it mean to be specialty, and for them to come up with the definition and for them to come up with the process by which a specialty coffee bean would be designated a specialty coffee bean. We don't have any coordination on this. We have the IICCT doing it their way. We have the Academy of Chocolate doing it their way. We have Cacao Excellence doing it in a different way. I think that experimentation is really, really healthy. And I think that it's way past time that somebody started saying, can we converge on an appropriate solution? But in order to be able to converge on an appropriate solution, and by that, I mean one that benefits the entire specialty chocolate industry, one that doesn't favor one method over another, one that doesn't favor a group of people, right? How long did it take to get to the WSET criteria for teaching wine professionals? Hundreds of years before we got to that point, right? Specialty chocolate, 30 years, maybe 40 if we stretch it. We're relatively young in this kind of thing. But right now, we've got different actors pushing in different directions. Nobody seems to be having a goal that benefits the entire industry. They're just focusing on very, very tiny parts of things. But I mean, at this point, we're over time. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think these organizations, these competitions need to be more transparent than they are? Do you think that there is value in them providing more information about who is entering, right? And making it easy to be able to go and visit the websites. I mean, for example, the Academy of Chocolate doesn't have a link on their website. It means they're not promoting the winners fully. I mean, it's just as simple as that. I have to copy the link. I need to go to a browser. I need to de-identify because some names are very, very common, right? And how do I go about, it's just, right? Transparency, right? We demand it of our suppliers. If I'm a chocolate maker, if I'm a customer and I'm buying chocolate and I want to know, oh, how do you know where your beans come from and if there was any nefarious anything that happened, at the farm level, right? Transparency and traceability, they're not the same thing. They're related to some extent. They are not synonymous, right? But transparency is about sharing the information that you have. I like visibility a lot better as a term in that respect, but it's about making enough information available to increase the confidence level. And this is important, the confidence level that I have in the decisions that you're making. If I don't know how you judge, if I don't know who the judges are, right? If I don't know, what a 91.7 means and how it's meaningfully different from a 91.6, other than as a way to say this one, right, gets best in show and this one doesn't, right? What do they mean? There is a fundamental aspect of the entire process of why we're judging in the first place that's lost, and probably lost forever, unfortunately. So my challenge to you as chocolate makers, if you're watching this, is to go to the organizers and competitions and say, can you provide us with more information, right? How many companies entered? How many entries were there? How big is the competition pool, right, that is going on? Can you make sure to provide the links to the pages? I mean, another thing that they could demand is, hey, you're an entrant, provide us a link to your shopping page for your entry, right? And that way, if somebody was interested, they could just go click and go directly to the shopping page. I mean, that would be really cool. That would be promoting, right, the winners in a way that would be tremendously effective, I think. Or what? You tell me. I'm interested in knowing. I'm going to keep on pushing this as a part of the larger transparency problem. We have different standards, right, for demanding transparency reports from different actors in the chain. That makes some sense because they're very, very different problems to be solved, right? But I think it's about time that we go to the people who organize the competition, which collectively earn several millions of dollars every year, maybe, right? I'm just from the volume of entries. It could easily be that amount of money, and say, we want more, right? If you want us to enter your competitions, right, we want more, right? And that will benefit not only you, right, as the entrant and potential winner, but it will also benefit the entire specialty chocolate world. And that's what I'm here to suggest that we all do. And with that, I want to say thank you, everybody, for being here today. This has been Pod Save Chocolate. And a sign out reminding people, if you're working with chocolate and you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. Until the next time, everybody. Ciao.